You know what they say. The more you do something, the better you get at it. Also, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. This is how I feel. Got my coffee today. Think it's time. All right. Ladies and gentlemen. Whoa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Let's Roll. And today, I wanted to share a little bit of story time with you guys. Because we had a pretty big scene play out through one of our sessions on Sunday. And I wanted to share it with you all because I think it's an awesome scene. So, let's start you at the beginning, almost near the beginning. To not make this video 4 hours long, I'll keep it short. So, we're playing through Dragon of Icespire Peak. This is the one that I talk about in almost every single one of it.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
This is a one that I talk about in almost every single one of my videos at this point. This is what we're playing through. This is most of the players' first adventure. And I gotta say, for it being the first adventure, it's pretty fun. This is also my first time really DMing for a group of people, or at least my first adventure. So, we're all learning together. So, if you don't know, Dragon of Icespire Peak is an adventure that takes place in the Phandelver area on the Sword Coast of Faerun in the Forgotten Realms. And the Phandelver area is in the area of Neverwinter, the Neverwinter Wood, where the village of Phandalin is, and north of Waterdeep. And what starts it off is there's a dragon running amok in the area, because the dragon is trying to gather, its domain, its territory, create its lair, and figure things out. Well, my players have been going through this, and eventually they heard from the dragon because they were able to actually talk to the dragon, and they heard from the dragon that there was a cult in the woods that it is trying to take care of, because if the cult does what it wants to do, the whole area is going to be destroyed anyways, and A, it won't have its domain, and B, the whole area will just be annihilated. So, the dragon does tell them it is in the Neverwinter Wood, but because the Neverwinter Wood is completely unaffected by the snow and the cold weather that the dragon has caused, it can't see through all the thick foliage, and it can't get in there because the foliage is too thick. And the dragon's just too big to get through, right? So, later on, my players decide, alright, we're going in. So they go into the woods, and immediately, they realize that the woods has extremely magical properties to it. All the players gain sorcerer spells, and they lose their dark vision. So, they continue forward along the river from the western side of the Neverwinter Wood. And as they go along, they find a logging camp, which just so happens to have another party camping inside. The logging camp has been abandoned, but the party has decided to take refuge there. This party, we'll call it Jin's party. Jin's party is a group of people that I made up for this adventure that are ordered by the officials of Neverwinter to go into the wood and figure out where the cult is and stop the cult if possible. So they all kind of talk to each other. They're like, you know what, we're trying to achieve the same goal, so why don't we work together? Okay, fair enough. So they go traveling for a little bit, and then they make camp, and they kind of get to know each other a little bit over the night. Well, while they're talking to each other in the middle of the night, they hear screams coming from the woods and someone running. So they go to check it out, and they eventually find an area where there have been bodies hanging that have been decapitated, Predator style. So wrist blades through the back up through the skull, ripping out the skull and the spine. Pretty metal, right? So so they get to this area, they see that, and immediately Jin's party recognizes that this is the reinforcement party that they were supposed to get like a day or two ago. So now they're concerned, and they still hear someone screaming and running. Well, eventually that person comes into view, and it turns out it's one of the bandits that got away in the fight way early on in the adventure. So they had a fight with some bandits that had ransacked a merchant's cart early on in the adventure, and I think one or two of the bandits got away. Well, this is one of the ones that got away, and he's running from something, and he's scared. So he runs up to my paladin and holds onto her tightly, and I have a Warhammer 40k orc in my player's party as well. And Gazgul grabs the guy by the head, puts him in front of himself, and says, "Point to me where whatever is chasing you is." And as soon as he says that, a spear comes out of the darkness and pierces straight through him and kills him pretty much instantly. Not quite instantly, but he was pretty much there as soon as the spear went through him. So with all this happening, the party decides, okay, eventually whatever killed the guy is gone. And they decide, okay, we are going to camp for the rest of the night, and then the next day we're going to travel, and we are really going to try to see what's going on with this cult. So the next day they wake up, they gather everything up, they talk to Jin's party for a second, and then they all head their way over by the river to continue. So they continue walking along, and eventually they come across a tributary where they decide to walk along the tributary. And they come across Falcon's Hunting Lodge, which is just a NPC's area in the adventure. And in the normal adventure, this is a place where this is kind of like a player's hub for the Neverwinter Wood. But you guys will... I'll tell you the story about this. So Gazgul decides to go across a bridge, and they all see a well-maintained, like, hunting lodge compound kind of thing. There's a wall going along it and everything. It's fortified. Gazgul sees a big oaken door and a bell by it. Normal procedure would be ring the bell and see if anyone answers. Well, Gazgul has a different approach. He kicks open the door with a dirty 20 so hard that the door pretty much falls off its hinges. Falcon is a hunter, and he is a survivalist. He is also a business owner. Falcon doesn't take kindly to orcs breaking down his door. So he thinks he's getting raided by orcs because he sees an orc breaking down his door. So immediately, I have Falcon go up to the second story in his house and start firing arrows out of his window. So one surprise attack later, we're in combat. Falcon gets the upper hand on initiative. So Falcon shoots another arrow, misses, of course. So my party kind of like spreads out. They're trying to like talk to him, and he's not really trying to cooperate because he doesn't know who these people are, and they just broke down his door. Why would he try to talk to them? So on Gazgul's turn, he throws a fireball inside Falcon's house, which thankfully Falcon moved out of that room that he threw the fireball in, because that would have been really bad and Falcon would have probably just died right there, and who knows, man. Anyways, long story short, house catches on fire, Falcon gets really mad at Gazgul, and I will be right back. Okay. Let's see, where was I? Yeah, so Falcon gets mad, specifically at Gazgul for being such a rude person, to say the least. So Falcon pretty much challenges Gazgul to a one-on-one duel. Falcon proceeds to miss 3 separate attacks, and then on to Gazgul's turn. Gazgul isn't taking any of this seriously. Falcon proceeds to miss yet another attack.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Falcon's just frustrated. He realizes this isn't something, like, nobody else is really doing anything, and Gazgul's not taking any of this seriously. So at this point, he's just frustrated and pissed off. He just tells everybody, just get out. Like, I hate all of you, and I just want you to get out. So they do, respectfully. And Falcon shuts the door on him, and that closes any opportunity for them to ever talk to Falcon again. So Jin's party, reasonably so, gets pretty mad at my player's party. They're like, we could have used the information he had. He had expertise in these woods. You know, he probably knows something about the cult. And they kind of have a bit of an argument, and it all culminates in the two parties camping separately from each other for the night. And the next morning, Jin's party wakes up and proceeds to leave without my player's party. My players are a little salty about that, so they're like, you know what, we're going to follow them. So they continue to follow them. They go around the hunting lodge, back up the tributary, and the Jin's team goes north into the woods. Player's team decides to follow the tributary still and go back to the river where the tributary began, which is a little bit more northwest. So they have to camp by the time they get there, and they do. My paladin decides to use Find Steed to get a direwolf that can telepathically communicate with her in the middle of the night. So they have the direwolf take watch, and if the direwolf sees anything suspicious, to let them know. So in the middle of the night, there is a person running in the forest, a hooded figure. The direwolf starts telling my paladin, hey, someone running in woods, something like that. Paladin wakes up everybody else, and through a series of incredible perception at disadvantage rolls, they are able to see that, yes, there is a hooded figure running, and it doesn't really seem to know where it's going. So one of my characters places a light on another, which then prompts the hooded figure to run towards them because they can see the light. My rogue decides that she is going to hide and fire an arrow at this figure. The arrow hits and the figure collapses to the ground, and they find out that the figure was actually one of the party members from Jin's party, and Jin's party has been taken pretty much hostage, and dragged to the eastern side of the forest. My party kind of snaps him out of his confusion and tries to get him out of his state of shock, so then they can kind of make sense of what's really going on, which they're half successful, half not. He's kind of like really, really traumatized at this point. He says the only way he was able to get away was by using his invisibility. Okay. So they decide to camp for the rest of the night because they don't want their long rest to be interrupted. And they wake up the next morning, and the direwolf tells them, reports to my paladin, I saw a squirrel, I saw a deer, I saw elk, then I saw a boar, then I saw another boar, then I saw a boar, then another boar, and then one boar got really close, so I scared it away. And it kind of, in their heads, it was like a flip switched, and they realize the boar are members of this cult. They are the anchorites of Talos. So they decide to go east and through the woods to another section of the river that leads east. And while they're going along this river, they see a stream of blood coming out of the woods. Well, they go into the woods to see why there's a stream of blood. My rogue says, I'm going to stay south while we're going in here. Okay. I don't even have her roll because I wrote this area just as like a really cool visual, and nothing much else was supposed to really happen from it. But anyways, I didn't have her roll. I was like, fine, you're stealth. So my party gets up to this clearing that's kind of like a massive dome made out of vines. And strung up to the top of this dome are 2 adult green dragons that have been killed. Their intestines hang out, and their necks are so long their heads are drooping and dipped into a pool of blood that has formed underneath of them in the middle of this clearing. One of them has a heart hanging out of them, and the heart is still pulsing. The heart is still pulsing. And Gazgul says, okay, I'm going to go into the pool of blood and climb up the dragon's neck. And through another series of incredible rolls, he is able to cut the veins from the heart, take the heart, and the heart is still intact and is still pulsing. Gazgul decides to cut open his own chest, and he casts haste on himself so he can go fast enough to where he doesn't die instantly from this. He tells me I'm going to pull out my own heart and replace my heart with the heart of the dragon. So, not taking physics into account, because, to be honest, rule of cool is applying to the situation at this point. The rest of my party is like, wait, should we let him do this? Because I feel like we shouldn't let him do this. And just to give you guys a little background, Gazgul this whole time has been talking a lot about his Wa, and the way that orcs live is by war. And he wants to make a portal to bring his boys into the world of D&D, or into the world of Faerun, and take it over. He wants to bring his Wa here. So they know this, and they know the nature of Warhammer 40k orcs. And so they're like, maybe we shouldn't let him get away with this. So we spend about 3 minutes talking amongst ourselves, trying to make sure that we're all okay with whatever is about to happen with it happening. And after about 3 minutes of delegation, we all come to the conclusion, yeah, we're okay with it. Let's just see how things go. So Gazgul, through another series of great rolls, cuts open his chest, rips out his heart, and as he's about to put this dragon's heart in his chest, because I count that as 2 actions. So I'm like, okay, technically, if we consider this like a round of combat, another person will get a turn. And my rogue that has been hidden this whole time, she's not technically she would not be technically in the combat. She would be away experiencing this in real time. She says, I'm going to fire an arrow at the heart. Okay. Alright. Let's do it. So, she rolls a 26 to hit the dragon's heart. Oh yeah. That hits. Roll me the damage. 15. To be honest, I only gave the heart 1 HP. The arrow goes through the heart in Gazgul's hands, and he watches as the heart stops pulsing and it turns gray. And only because he's hasted do I let Gazgul take his heart and put it back in himself before he dies and heal himself. And that's where we left off. And I'm not going to lie, that was some of the coolest stuff I've ever run in D&D. Other than the combat of the Shrine of Savras, that was some of the best roleplay ever. It was insane. And I'll keep you guys updated on what happens next, because I think it's really cool. And even if you guys don't want to hear it, I want to chronicle it for myself. You know, you always have those moments that people say stick with them for a long time in every D&D campaign. And I was telling my players after our session, I was like, I think this is going to be the moment that we all remember from this campaign. I hope there's more moments that we remember from this campaign, but if there's going to be one moment, I think this is going to be it, because this was entirely their doing. I had nothing to do with planning any of this out except for just creating the scene. And at the end of the day, really, what more could a dungeon master ask for? Really. You create a scene and you just let the punches roll. You know? Because whenever your players buy into something so well that they're able to create an entire moment from just one area that you just made and didn't really think anything of whenever you were creating it, that's magic. And the fact that we have a game that can turn that moment into such magic, this is why I play D&D, man. I also wanted to say thank you guys for the support on the last video, the Dark Vision video. I did not know that it was going to be not spicy. I don't think anything that I said in there was spicy, but it's fun seeing all the replies and everything and all the comments, and I appreciate the interaction that we have going on in that video, and I would love for more. So if you have any comments about this story, please feel free, because I will 100% respond to it. I try to respond to all the comments that I see on all my videos, because I don't have 1,000 comments to go through every day. So I'm able to go through, as many comments as I want right now, because it's usually only like 5 to 10. So, yeah. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's roll.